Hello, my beautiful creative creatures. It's Megan. I know it's been a while. I have been sick. I have been trying to recover, just getting things in order and to get more acclimated to recording again because obviously it's been a while. I got the mic that I normally use hooked up downstairs while I use my husband's computer because it works better. So, anyway, so today we're going to be talking about doing a Zoom call with Elomir and the reps. So that is the main topic. I know Mac just uploaded a video today, but I wanted to do it anyway because I had gotten it about, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago. So I wanted to make sure I talked on it. It might be a little longer than that when I got it, but I want to talk on it. I want to hear from you, want to see what you guys have to say. So we're going to get started, and I hope you enjoy. And if you see me eating, it's because, well, I have the snack in between. Because if I don't get a chance to eat. So we're going to get this started a while, I have to say.
Coaching and has been doing a phenomenal job also as an author, has written several books. If you guys have not read any of his books, he's got one on social media marketing. He's got one on how to be a freakishly effective leader, which I absolutely love and definitely apply those tactics and strategies in my business and in my team. So if you haven't picked up any of Ray's books, I highly recommend that. But Ray was nice enough to come on here tonight to share some wisdom with you guys in terms of, we've just, got our Elomir business off the ground here. We're about 60 days in. Those of you that have been, in it before launch on July 5th, you guys have been working even longer, but we have launched really strong out of the gate, and now it is time to move into sustainable growth. It's like we're all excited, we're all hyped up from everybody coming in, and we've even seen a couple of people that have left already because they just couldn't stick it out from a startup standpoint, and that's okay. And Van's pretty transparent about that too. She only wants people that want to be with us, not because we're enticing them to be with us. And that is something that I love actually seeing, because as we stick it out, as we grow our Elomir businesses moving forward here, we're going to be rewarded for that. And there's no better person to
rewarded in the sense that you're going to get as many recruits as possible. And I find it funny that they even have mentioned that people are all about up and leaving, and saying this opportunity was so grand. Why are they leaving? What's the reason that they're leaving? Please let us know.
Help us understand how to grow our businesses, then Ray, welcome. Thank you very much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be on here. I see some familiar faces. What's up, Ron and Amanda and Angie, and see several familiar faces. It's good to be on here, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you've been around the block a few times in terms of being in the industry. You've seen a lot over the years, haven't you, in terms of just how the industry has grown, how it's expanded, how it's morphed with the digital age of social media and everything.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I first, I would say, got serious about network marketing, because I had been in network marketing and had struggled and bumbled and failed, but when I got serious about network marketing, everyone was telling me that social media wouldn't duplicate. I remember I was at one of the early. So first of all, you guys are a new company. I became the #1 income earner of a company I joined in pre-launch. And so I understand all that it's like, when the company's new. And let me tell you, everyone wants to be in at the top. Everyone wants to be in when a company's new until they're in new.
Yep,
and then they're like, dang.
Why is it somehow harder? Because I feel like it's somehow easier because you're able to persuade a lot of people to join. So how is it not better to join early? I would love to know.
Well, how come the shipment isn't going out, or how come the software is messed up? And obviously, I know some of the people behind it. Terry, I know some of the different people behind it, and you have some amazing people. But when you're new, you just got to understand that there's going to be some bumps in the road, and you either have vision or you don't. And so there's other options for people without, vision, but you do have to have vision for you to stick through, because there's going to be some bumps. There's going to be some surprises. I remember I was just telling this story, but I had a guy, a business owner up in, I think he lived in Port Charlotte, I think, and he was fired up. He was ready to go, and he came on board, and he's like, well, man, I'm gonna crush this thing. And then the next day he was like, hey, where do I order the business cards? And I said, oh, we don't have a lot of stuff right now, but we'll get that stuff in. He goes, how am I supposed to build without business cards? I'm out of here.
Yep.
Like, really? That's how easily you folded. And I'm like, all right, okay. And went on to make millions.
Maybe it's not even about folding, but maybe they just didn't see that as a legit business, because sometimes people need a business card to be like, okay, well, I need to be able to see this, know that it's real, to be able to jump on board. And maybe they just don't feel that it's real, and for good reason. I understand that. A lot of times people jump into these MLMs and they are paying more than they're getting, and they're not actually realizing that they're the customer instead of the customers being the customer. So yeah, there's plenty of reasons why they might question it. Doesn't mean they didn't maybe see the positive aspect to it either. It could be that they just don't know how much work is going to be involved that isn't going to be great for them later down the road. They could weigh the pros and cons pretty well.
Millions of dollars with that company, and we had a blast. It was a great company. My wife and I decided in 2016 to no longer actively build a team and focus on the industry. We like to make a difference at the industry level, and so that's what we've been doing for quite a while now. Had the pleasure, we've worked with a lot of rock stars, teams of 100,000, 750,000. We've worked with some, large leaders, some great companies, and we've had a lot of fun. So I want to hopefully maybe demystify some of, how to build and give some suggestions, and happy to take questions, as well. And so I don't want to assume that everyone knows my story, so I'll very quickly just share that. So I had worked my way up in the corporate world to a pretty good paying salary, pretty high paying salary for someone that never finished high school on time, didn't finish college, and but I wasn't happy. And and I looked at my boss and his boss and her boss, and none of them were happy either. And they were making more money than me, certainly. But they were having problems at home. It was very clear that that was just going to be my future if I stayed there. And I didn't want to do that. And so, long story short, I left the corporate world, and I started my own business, and not in network marketing, but in real estate. And, hey, it didn't work out.
It almost sounded like he knows that network marketing isn't really anyone's actual business, but what they say they are, what they should be saying they are, is a 1099 contracted employee. You don't own it. You don't have any ties to the company in that way. If you're earlier on and someone's able to get some type of, I don't know how to word it right, but if they, in my opinion, it seems like they're able to finesse enough with their bosses that they work for to be a part of it in some sort of way, they're able to achieve those relatively accurate business owner roles, as you will. Doesn't mean that they're business owners, but if granted they are given the ability to make choices in how an actual business would be, but they really don't have any other say other than maybe a product idea or whatever. But outside of that, it's rare that they have any say in anything. But I just thought that was funny. That's just my opinion, though.
And I didn't want to go crawling back to a job. And someone, my good friend Chris out of Cape Coral, Florida, invited me to a meeting. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to figure this thing out. And so there were a few things that I did every day and became the number one income earner in that company when it was pre-launch, when we had, one product, when we weren't in anywhere but, in the US and most states, there were no one. I wasn't the master distributor. I wasn't anything special. I was at the bottom of the bottom of a bottom of an inside leg. And I even had, I had, leaders that promised me some stuff that, didn't do it. And I built anyway. And decided I'm going to make this thing happen. I'm not going to complain about what I don't have or what isn't ready or what's lacking. And I just went to work. And there were 3 things that I did, but I want to break those down in a little bit different fashion so that you really understand it. The 3 things that I did to become the number 1 income earner of that company, which I would argue today would still make you, maybe not the number 1 earner, but it would make you a top earner in any company. I had read a book called Go for No. And that book, it just kind of made sense to me. And that it sounds like a terrible title, doesn't it? Like Go for No, like I get plenty of those. I want yeses, man. And so, but it made sense to me because it does 2 things. It reduces your resistance to rejection and it reduces your reaction to rejection. And too many people are struggling with one or both of those. They're either too worried about getting rejected, so they never ask, or they get a no and then they're eating ice cream, the rest of the day. And so I read that book. I'm like, this makes sense. And so I set a no goal. And I figured, I'm like, I have big goals because I had big debt. I was in massive debt. And I'm like, I got big goals. So, what would make sense for me to really build a large organization? So I set a goal of 20 no's a day, and 20 no's a day is unreasonable. It's it's borderline crazy. I know 3 people that have come to me and told me they did the 20 no plan. All 3 became $1 million earners. Maybe it's just a coincidence. But the folks that wrote Go for No, they liked my story so much that we actually did a book together called Go for No for Network Marketing. And so the whole, Go for No. And let me tell you, maybe you're on here and you feel like you're super skilled, right? Like you're like just amazing. You're a super closer. You're really, really good. And you're like, I don't even know how I could get 20 no's. Well, you can by reaching higher. And so the Go for No, it actually adjusts to your skill level, because I started getting much better at closing. So I started reaching higher. I mean, I brought in people that were running $10-20 million businesses and they became reps of mine. Someone that was in my, that I brought into my team, he's going to be speaking at our event next month, Russell Brunson. So Russell Brunson's a co-founder of ClickFunnels, and that company, I don't know exactly, but it's over $150 million a year company. And, and he was in my team. So like, as I started to increase my skill, I started to go for bigger no's. I started asking bigger people, and sometimes I'd get a yes. So, pretty powerful. And
so by go for bigger no's, does that mean push and push and push and push and push and push and be uber aggressive and push your way through to get the yeses, which doesn't sound any less predatory or helpful in getting the sales, because you're in sales that you want? There are better ways to do it, in my opinion. But Ray Higdon has a big platform. So I feel like he probably has less of a chance to get no's than and a lot of other people because of the platform he has. But that's just my thoughts. It just seems like a lot of predatory behavior to just go after people so hard till you get a yes. You don't have to do that. It's okay to accept a no. Just accept it.
Go for No isn't go for non-responses, because I got thousands of those. It's actually someone telling you no. Hey, are you open to taking a look at what I'm doing to make extra money? Hey, are you open to taking a look at this product that I got that helps me with this? No. Okay, that's one. And so that was the first thing. That was the first kind of part of my routine. And the second part was I hated prospecting. and notice I did it anyway, but I hated prospecting. I hated reaching out to people, and I wanted to create a way for people to reach out to me. I wanted to create, some kind of, we really didn't use the term attraction marketing back then. It wasn't popular back then, that term at least. And so I started doing a video a day. And so I figured if I do a video a day, eventually someone somewhere has got to see these darn things, and I'll start generating some leads. And so my goal was to get people reaching out to me. And so in the beginning, no one's seeing my videos. And oh, by the way, they're terrible. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I'm like outside. I'm like a weatherman. Ray Higdon here, and you can barely hear it. You're like, what do you say? And the sun's directly behind my head, so you can't even see who is it again. Like, it's just terrible. But I was just moving forward. I'm just failing forward. Just keep doing it. And so just kept doing it, kept going, kept showing up. And at one point, I was generating over 3,000 leads a month without ads. Now, prior to TikTok, that's pretty impressive. Okay. Now, since TikTok, I mean, we have people on our team, or, not my network marketing team, but people like, that work for us, or people in our membership and our rank makers that generate that kind of stuff with TikTok and Instagram Reels and Facebook Reels. But back then, that was pretty good. That was a pretty good deal. And so when you're generating that kind of leads, you can do pretty good with recruiting, and it's not that difficult. But that didn't happen right away. That took me some time. That took me a while of showing up and not getting results for a while. And then the third thing, very simple, just self-development. Every day I had to do something to work on myself, whether it was reading a book, whether it was reading a chapter, listen to audios, etc. And again, did go on to become the number one earner of that company. And so Brooke's asking, what were the videos about? And so I talked about, if I had to do it over, it'd be a very different story, But back then, I talked about what I was learning. And so I used a process called ILT. And this is something that I've been teaching for 10 years. ILT stands for invest, learn, teach. And so all of you on here are INLing, right? So you invested your time to be on here, right? I don't know if they charge for it or not. Sometimes teams do, sometimes they don't. But you invested your time, at least, to be on here. You're hopefully learning, and I'm going to teach you a bunch more stuff, but you're learning stuff. The question is, will you teach? And so I don't read a book that videos don't come from, right? So I don't ever read a book and then just like, all right, all done here. Like, no, I take some of the concepts that I learned from that book, and I edify the book, I edify the author, and I create videos. And, that used to be, just Facebook Lives or, YouTubes. Now it's, what I'll do is, if I'm going through a book, especially a good book, I'll take every major note, and every major note becomes its own Instagram reel. And so it's the simplest way for you to come up with content is just take what you're learning. Now, a different way to look at this, and a few years ago I created some mantras that drive me, is and mantra number one is help the person you used to be. So a lot of people, they struggle with, what is my brand? What's my avatar? What's my target? What's my niche, right? And so in the absence of something fancy, just help the person you used to be. And there's a lot of shades of that with me. I mean, I grew up in a very abusive home. I've been broke twice. I struggled with parenting. I got 4 kids. I struggled with parenting because I didn't have a good role model, and I struggled with self-worth of being present. And so I'd be with my kids for 4.2 minutes and have to be on my phone doing something. Been a workaholic. I've been a successful but unfulfilled person. And so every single one of those types of people I can help, because that's who I used to be. And so, maybe you're on here and, you wanted to, you've been wanting to lose some weight, and, you've lost 10 pounds so far, but you got more to go. Help a person wants to lose 10 pounds. Right. And so the big divide is people that don't understand marketing, they think, well, I have this thing for sale. I must talk about this thing in all of my videos. And that is very limiting, and it's very, it's like, okay, she's got her thing for sale. All right. Instead of the thing you have for sale, think about the who you're trying to talk to. And that's where help the person you used to be is just so powerful, because you know them. You overcame that. You survived that. Maybe you were in a bad relationship. Maybe you had trauma in your life. Maybe you were burnt out at work. Maybe maybe you were struggling with parenting and you got better at it. Do you know how many people struggle with parenting? Like, help that person. And so help the person you used to be it's such a powerful driver and such a clear vision, because you're good at that. See, a lot of times people either they go into sales mode and think, I must sell this thing, so I'm going to talk about, right, this bioflavonoid, that's like how many videos you make about bioflavonoids or whatever, right? It's like kind of gets old, kind of gets boring. Or they try to be a master of something they don't really know. So they think, ooh, you know what? I'm going to talk about network marketing, but they've never really made it in network marketing, or they want to talk about social media marketing, but they haven't built a big following. Instead of that, talk to the person you used to be. Like, what advice would you give yourself from 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? And I remember, I after high school, I got into a relationship, and she like totally ripped my heart out. Now I was, I had it coming. The signs were all there, right? But I went from totally getting my heart ripped out to being depressed and all kinds of stuff to, getting into a relationship only because I felt safe in that relationship, not that it was the ideal relationship. How many people could I help with that, right? And help them see, hey, you deserve like a great relationship. You can have a great relationship. And so there are things that that other people haven't learned yet. And you going on video. So one of my clients, she is multiple six-figure earner in her company. She has 5 kids, and all of them are doing really well. They're all in sports, and it's like amazing. Like, she's got a great business. She's got great kids. They're getting scholarships and stuff. And she wanted to talk about network marketing, which she does know and she is good at. But I'm like, God, I think there's a lot more people that are interested in how the hell you did both, right? How were you a mom? Because it's rare to meet the successful mom that doesn't have.
Does it annoy anybody like it does annoy me being a mom myself? That moms, I know this is kind of backtrack, like away from the topic, kind of from MLMs, but why is it moms have to have the hardest time just navigating being a mom? And that's the compliment that we get if we're working and being a mom. But dads are doing that all the time, but they are not that it's like a bad thing, but I just find that observation odd. Like, why is it such a feat for us to do it when a lot of moms do it? Even single moms do this. Why is this such a mind-blowing thing versus a dad who just works? Because is that just the social norm? Is this the social construct as men go to work and provide, but women aren't able to? Because granted, our society still is not broken out of that whole heteronormative mindset, but I just find it funny that moms are the comment or the basis of like, how'd you do both, when a lot of women do a lot of things, and it doesn't even matter if they're a mom. Like, why should that matter that much? So that's just my opinion. You let me know what you think.
Mom guilt. Right? That stops a lot of moms. And so like she started talking more about being mom and what she does to help, her kids with their making their sports, meetings and activities and all this different stuff. And like, it just blew up. Like, people are way more interested in that. And then when you're not talking about that thing that you sell and you're talking about something else, people start to trust you more. Then they start to connect with you more. Then you build a bigger following. Then you get in the DMs and you say, hey, I don't know if you're even aware that I do this side business, but I have a side business, and that's what.
But that could also be viewed as predatory because you're aiming towards moms. Getting them to be willing and lower their guard down to something that could be and has been known to be detrimental to financial well-being and the family well-being. So regardless of what type of family, that doesn't matter. But if you're willing to target those people, I'm gonna have an issue with it. Being a mom myself, that's an issue. I don't like that. You could do sales and do it for everybody, but the moment you start targeting certain groups of people, that's an issue.
Helps you make all these meetings, and all of a sudden you're in the direct message with someone that trusts you and wants to be more like you, and that's a really easy conversation to have. And so, and Michael, I don't know if you plan on this being an interview, or are you okay with me keep going, or
did you just keep going, keep giving the value there. Yep.
And so I would do it very differently. So I talked about the things I was learning, which is mainly business, social media, marketing, and that kind of stuff. Because back then I wasn't willing to be vulnerable. I didn't even know what that meant. It just sounded weird, right? Like, no thanks, right? You're at a buffet and they're like, would you like some vulnerable? No, thank you, right? Like I just wasn't vulnerable. I wanted to be Superman. I wanted to be perfect and awesome. And
well, coming from the male perspective, I could see why vulnerable is not something that's normally made. I want to find the right words to say. Being vulnerable is not societally available for men, which is a sucky thing because men have feelings. Men are allowed to have those feelings. Men are allowed to share whatever feeling they have. It shouldn't be looked down on. But these are just my opinions. So for him to say, I didn't know what vulnerable meant, you probably do, but it's not something that's in your vocabulary to be. And that's okay. We can unlearn stuff. Unlearning is part of life, especially stuff that's toxic and dangerous and unrealistic to the mental well-being of people. Like, you can't be stoic all the time. It doesn't help you. So, but that's just my opinion on this. So for me, it's like, just listening through what he's saying, it sounds a lot like he's not willing to admit that he has issues with being vulnerable. And that's okay. Everybody needs to work on that, in my opinion. But to feel like you have to put on an act or whatever to not appear vulnerable is just as detrimental. But we'll go on.
Unstoppable and whatever. And what I learned is literally everything in my career changed when I started being vulnerable, and I didn't even plan it. Okay. I had a leader in my team that I had confided in, and I told him, I'm like, yeah, man, I'm actually getting out of foreclosure. Right. And in the real estate crash, I got wiped out. I went through a divorce. I went through foreclosure. I was, at one point, literally living on my buddy's couch. And it just wasn't pretty. And I confided, I told, this leader that, I'm like, yeah, man, I'm bouncing back from foreclosure. And he went to this company, he got some kind of deal with a different company, and he was going to leave. And he's like, hey, I'm going to tell everyone you're in foreclosure. And I'm like, I will. And so I go live that day, and or actually, I don't know if live was even around back then, but I did a video that day, and I said, hey, I got something to admit to y'all, and that is, man, when the real estate market crashed, I got wiped out. And I went into foreclosure, and this network marketing has been bouncing me back. Everything skyrocketed. When I started letting down my guard, and I stopped trying to be perfect, and I stopped trying to, not let any weakness show, everything took off. Everything was crazy. I started getting asked to be on stages. I started being asked to be on podcasts. And so, vulnerability is such a major key. And, we don't have time to get into all this different stuff, but I'm telling you, that thing that you're scared to admit, so many other people have struggled with that. And having the courage, which is what it is, having the courage to be vulnerable is game changing, because most people assume everyone else is full of crap. And so when you are trying, I'm the expert, I'm perfect, they just don't believe you anyway. So they're not going to connect with you. They're not going to buy your stuff. They're not going to get in your direct messages or anything. But when you're willing to be vulnerable, that's when you're really helping people. You're really transforming people, and you're just showing up differently. And so, now I'm willing to show, all my, scars and all the different things that I've, the barbed wire that I've climbed through, and help people out. So there should be no mystery as to what builds a network marketing business. I've boiled it down to 4 key components, and these, they all happen to start with the letter P. and so you may want to write these down. And I'm purposely not putting them in order of importance for a reason, but we'll discuss them. And so it's pipeline, posture, position, and perspective. Okay. So pipeline, posture, position, perspective. So pipeline, what's pipeline? Pipeline is a very simple concept, but it's a concept that eludes most network marketers. And they're literally confused on why they don't have more success. And pipeline is the answer for anything performance-based. Period. Anything performance-based has to do with pipeline. Anything performance career-based has to do with pipeline. Pipeline is how many people are you talking to, following up with, setting appointments with, possibly, depending on the company, doing demonstrations for, sending samples to, whatever. Now, it's the same in anything performance-based careers. A realtor, pipeline. Car sales, pipeline. Right? Literally anything that's performance-based, pipeline. And so, my wife, she's now, as of this year, she's a luxury realtor here in Naples, Florida, and that's her passion. She loves real estate. She's flipped a lot of property. She's done a lot of investments, and, she knows her stuff. And so, but even with a license, right? She had to go through all this training, and it sounded horrible, and she got her license. But even with that license, if she doesn't tell anyone she's a realtor, she doesn't make any money, and no one's confused by that fact. No one's confused. Now, in network marketing, you have all these anti-MLMers, right? They're quite the crew, and
of course, let's talk about the haters. I love hearing this stuff personally, because I do a lot of, if you ever want to see me jump on lives on TikTok, because I do jump on a lot of different ones and talk about different subjects on there. But the amount of flack that we get from MLMers, when I'm not trying to be rude to them, but most times I get a lot of hate from them, from MLM reps, which, okay, I understand. And I don't ever try to retaliate. I actually do what the slogan says, like, do it with kindness. So, and if they don't accept what I have to say, that's understandable. But the fact is that anti-MLM should, yes, definitely get better, working towards goals of shutting the MLMs down because of how predatory they are. And the fact that people waste more money on the products that they're buying for themselves when they say that they're selling it, when they don't. They rarely sell it probably as much as they say they're buying it. So when it comes to that, us and anti-MLM are trying to, or at least I would like to work to achieving goals of shutting the companies down because of how predatory they are and the fact that they've been deemed a pyramid scheme. Granted, are they going to agree with that? No, they're not going to. They'll have cognitive dissonance, which if you want to check out some more cognitive dissonance on various topics, TikTok has a lot of good ones, which are entertaining to watch, in my opinion. But you can let me know what you guys think, and let's continue on, because I love knowing that they're going to talk about us again.
You know, these are people that joined a network marketing company, didn't do the work, and now complain about the.
Also, I joined one. I joined It Works years ago, and only for like a week, and then I got my refund. And then I almost joined the Green Frog or the Rainbow Vacuum one because I saw it was a job opening, and I never got paid for the training that I went to, which wasn't really training. So it wasn't an extensive training, I should say, like normal companies do. So I did not realize till afterward that it was an MLM, and I was like, oh, geez. So there's that. But they told me they didn't want me. That's the funny part, is that company, the Rainbow Vacuum Company, was the one that said they didn't want me. So take that with a grain of salt, what he's saying, but I found it funny that they're like, oh, we're looking for other people. Okay. So, yeah. But the fact that he's like, oh, they didn't try hard enough. I mean, sure, I didn't try hard enough, but also I don't want to recruit people. Like, I just felt weird when I tried to do It Works. So, yeah.
Network marketing.
All right. So that's the end of that first half of the video. I hope you enjoy. We're going to be doing the second part very soon. And yeah, just let me know if I should talk more on Ray Higdon and what he's all about. He has some intense thoughts, so you let me know what you think. And I'll see you soon. Okay, bye.